I just want to say a very big welcome to each and every one of you from every corner of the world. And as you can see, we have a special sparkling star joined us all the way from south of France, sunny France. Is it sunny there, Denise?
Yes, it is sunny.
This is going to be a 2.5 hour session from when our speaker, Denise, will start. Very powerful and very requested topic, Swadarshanchakradhari, and the key to unlocking the paradox of predestination and effort. I mentioned the name Denise Lawrence, and I think most of you do know her. And I know many are joining for the first time today. I will just tell you a little bit about Denise. Denise, what can I say? I tell you, there's so much to say, but I'm just going to give you a little bit, a gist of what I have in my heart. So, of course, she is a very inspiring and powerful yogi who has been a student and teacher with the Brahma Kumaris for probably over 50 years now. She's currently based in France. With her powerful intellect and love of languages, she has a very special ability to churn and understand deep spiritual points and the ability to translate them into daily practical living. What I find really special about my sister Denise is her warmth, her clarity, her deep authenticity, and that she truly shares from her heart. So without further ado, let us give a very warm welcome to Denise Lawrence. Welcome, Denise. Over to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Madhavi. And this is really taking us to the introduction course, but we're going to do it at a much deeper level than you would get if you were just starting. Swadarshanchakradhari is a word that is Sanskrit. You hear it in the Murlis, which is what we study every day. And it is a title that we receive. We are practicing Raj Yoga, so we call ourselves Raj Yogis. And there are many, many titles we receive. And this one, Swadarshanchakradhari, is a big one. Normally, in the world of Hinduism, the title Swadarshanchakradhari is reserved for Krishna. And you may have seen pictures of Krishna holding a discus, and he is famous for using this discus to cut off the heads of devils. And so the Swadarshan chakra is often thought of as a weapon. So a discus is a very ancient thing, and as a weapon, but also it is the first wheel. And we often hear this expression, should we reinvent the wheel? And that means that the wheel was one of the first inventions ever, and nobody knows who invented it. But when we study this information, we begin to become aware that it wasn't ever really invented because it's an eternal symbol. And it's a symbol. Of course, when you make an actual wheel, you use it for bicycles, cars, trains, any kind of system of transportation. But it's also a gyroscope. And a gyroscope is a special instrument that is used in submarines, ships, airplanes, to keep you stable and steady. So the Swadarshan chakra is a weapon. It's also an instrument to keep you stable and steady. So this is a very, very good item to have in this world of instability and insecurity that we have. So it is a very complicated symbol. And in some cases, it's disturbing because it is also the symbol of the swastika. And the swastika is always associated with Nazism, but actually it is much, much older than Nazism. And the swastika is a symbol that you find in ancient temples. And the swastika is the same thing as the Swadarshanchakradhari. And it's a more famous word because everybody heard about it since the time of the 1930s. But if you break down the word swastika, it means to know the self. So I'm going to just request my good friend Maggie to put up the picture of the cycle, which also shows the swastika in red in the middle, so that you can look at it while I am explaining the symbolism of this picture. So you can see that in the middle you have the red swastika, and it is a symbol of rotation. And the arms are moving in a clockwise direction. So it means that this is also a symbol of time passing. And you see that it is overlaid on the next layer, which is a circle. And you can see the colors, the yellow, the gray, the copper colored, and the black. So this is referring to the states of being that an individual passes through and that the whole world passes through over the course of time. So the one that is the first quadrant, top right, is called Satyuga, which is also called the Golden Age. So this yellow color refers to gold. So the Golden Age of the world. And then the second one, bottom right, is called Treta Yuga, which means the time of 3/4. And so it's 3/4 starts at the 3/4 mark of the cycle of time. And it is the Silver Age. So from gold, it declines to silver. Then you move over to the left-hand side, and the arms of the swastika are pointing to the left, and you see the word Dwapar Yuga. So Dwapar Yuga means the time of division into two. So this is at the halfway point of the cycle. And in terms of metal, we go from gold to silver, and then this one is copper. And once you move from gold and silver to copper, you move into what is called base metal. And that means it has substantially less value. Gold is the most valuable, then silver has a lower value, copper has a lower value. And then when you go further to the last quadrant, the top left, you have Kali Yuga, which means the black time or the dark time, and it is also called the Iron Age. And so all of this is on a plan of time of 5,000 years. So in 5,000 years, you move from the Golden Age to the Silver Age to the Copper Age to the Iron Age. And in history and archaeology, what we call here as the Copper Age, they call the Bronze Age. So you may be familiar with Bronze Age cultures. So all of that takes place in the Copper Age. And you can see that each quadrant is of 1,250 years. Then you will see at the very top, you see a white, small pie-shaped piece. And this is called the Diamond Age. And it's not written on it, but that's what it's called. And the diamond is, of course, even more valuable than gold. So you go from gold to silver to copper to iron, and then diamond. And diamond is actually made of inorganic carbon. And so carbon corresponds to coal, in a sense, which is organic carbon, but it means from black to transparent. That's the diamond. And so inorganic carbon, from a chemical point of view, is heated and compressed to a point where it becomes ultra hard and completely transparent, more transparent than glass. You know, you can look through a diamond a mile thick and you can still see through it. It's that level of transparent. So there's a lot of symbolism connected with these. And what we are saying here is that we are currently in this diamond age. And this is also called the confluence age. So this is where one cycle finishes and the next cycle starts. And each cycle is the same as the previous one. So after the Iron Age, you go again to the Golden Age, then again to the Silver Age, again to the Copper Age, again to the Iron Age. And then you go through the Confluence Age or Diamond Age, which is a very, very special age, because that is where the end and the beginning meet. So in some cultures, you can see this represented as the convergence of the alpha and the omega. These are the first and last letters of the Greek alphabet. And so this refers to the end and the beginning coming together. And the end then gives rise to the beginning. And this is also represented in the symbols on the outside of the cycle. You can see there's a picture of the sun in the top right-hand corner of the picture. Then the bottom right-hand corner, you see the picture of the moon. So in the Golden Age, you have what is called the Sun Dynasty. And in the Silver Age, you have the Moon Dynasty. Then if you move over to the left-hand side, you see clouds. And then if you go to the top left, you see thunderclouds. And so you can see that it corresponds a little bit to the weather. You have sunny days, moonlit nights, and then you have the cloudy time, and you may have the stormy time. So this corresponds with the process through time. And we go from this beautiful golden age where everything is absolutely perfect, and so it is called heaven or paradise on earth. And the Silver Age is like that, but maybe a little bit less, and the world population a little greater. And then what happens as you shift from silver to copper is a massive catastrophe in the world. So you all know that we are very concerned about climate change at this time. And the condition of the world is really in a process of massive change. There are these extreme weather events, and you know that there are events happening where you have multiple natural calamities at the same time. For example, a day or two ago in Vanuatu, there were 2 major earthquakes plus a hurricane all at the same time. And when you start getting these multiple natural calamities at the same time, it's very disturbing for people because it's very difficult to handle. And this time of massive change that we're going through at the moment, we're experiencing on a lot of different levels, and it is disturbing. So, as I mentioned earlier, the Swadarshanchakra is a gyroscope, which means it's an instrument that enables you to keep stable and steady. And you especially need that in stormy seas and stormy times. So this is a very, very useful instrument to keep in the pocket of your intellect. You can see also in this picture that it is overlaid on the map of the world. And you can also see the founders of the main religions. So you see at the bottom where the silver and the copper age come together, you see a picture of Abraham. And Abraham is the founder of Islam. And so Islam and Judaism are actually both coming from Abraham. Then you see the next one is the Buddha, who comes 250 years later, the Buddha, which is the founder of Buddhism. And then another 250 years later, you have the Christ. And of course, the Christianity emerges out of Judaism, but on this picture, it's shown as a separate course. And the reason is because of it being so impactful in terms of the history of the world, and it's a very large quantity of souls or Christians. Then the last one, you have Muhammad and the Islam as we know it today, but Islam also comes out of Abraham. Abraham, Buddha, Christ, and Muhammad are all very much connected with India also. And Hinduism is actually represented in the middle part. So in the Golden Age, you can see these two figures, and they are Lakshmi and Narayan, who are the emperor and empress of this world of paradise. And then after that period of the dynasty of the sun is completed in 1250 years of 8 generations, you then go into what is known as Ram Raja, and so there is the symbol or the figure of Ram and Sita, and they carry on for 12 generations in what is called the dynasty of the moon. So the golden age is the dynasty of the sun, the silver age, the dynasty of the moon. And when you move into Dwapara Yuga, there has been a huge natural calamity, which could be a number of things, but I think most likely is an encounter between the Earth and a very, very large comet or some extraterrestrial body that smashed into the Earth and broke up everything, so that you cannot find actual traces of the Golden Age and Silver Age because it was so totally reconfigured. So the Earth became unrecognizable, the continents moved, the tectonic plates moved, everything changed totally drastically. And this was a very traumatic moment for the people who were living there because their entire systems broke. Their state of consciousness broke, and they became ordinary people, just as we are. But previously they were extraordinary people, but everything broke. And that included the technology. It was a very, very high-tech time. People were pure, perfect, beautiful, virtuous, everything. And then all of that got absolutely destroyed. And so we have recorded history after that. And then the Golden Age and Silver Age would be pre-recorded history that people really don't know much about. There are indications in mythology and different songs and poems and memories, ancient memories, and the primitive cultures of the world are much more aware of it than the modern cultures. But it exists and can be looked at as an indicator. Going to the figures at the top, you see the two figures in white, which are Brahma and Saraswati, and this also corresponds to the historical Adam and Eve, and no one really knows who are Adam and Eve, but in this picture, it is indicated that Adam and Eve and Brahma and Saraswati are the same individuals, and they were called the first created people. So now there's a paradox here, and that is that every soul is eternal and immortal, so you can't get created in terms of being made to exist. So we have to understand the word creation differently from how people normally understand it, which is in a physical way. So creation, if you think about it in terms of how it's spoken about in the Bible, the Christian Bible, they talk of creation through the word. And in Hinduism, you hear about the word Om, which is the first thing that was said, and then what it means is I exist. And so people at the present time do not understand who they are or what they are, and they want to know, at least quite a few people want to know, who am I? And what am I? And what is existence? And I need to understand what's going on. And so this information that we have, which is shown, it's all really contained in this picture of the cycle, which shows you the process of the world, pre-recorded history and recorded history, which is, of course, very different from the way we learn about it in school, but there it is. So now this is also called Swadarshanchakradhari, and your title is you are a Swadarshanchakradhari. So let's just break down this word for a moment. Swa means the self, just as swastika means self, and astika means knowledge, so knowledge of the self. And Swadarshanchakradhari means you are a person who is in possession of the cycle which shows you who you are. That's what it means. Swadarshanchakradhari, you are in possession of the cycle which shows you who you are. And so now, how do you interpret this? And how does this cycle show you who you are? Because this cycle that you can see that's in front of you shows you the cycle of the world. And so you are yourself someone who participates in the cycle of the world. So the cycle of the world also has other elements to it which are not written on this picture. You can't write everything, there's no space for it. You wouldn't be able to see it, it would be too small or something. But let me just tell you about it. It also talks about reincarnation. So the eternal soul comes to earth at some point. So if you look at the little round circles with the pictures of Abraham, Buddha, Christ, and then there's a symbol for Muhammad in the form of the tower that you find on a mosque. And these periods, these moments in time, mark the moment when the soul of Abraham came on earth, and the soul of Buddha came on earth, the soul of Christ came on earth, the soul of Muhammad came on earth. And then you can see the line, which is also colored yellow, gray, orange, and black. So gold, silver, copper, iron. So what that means is every soul has a period of time that they are on the earth, and a quarter of that is gold, a second quarter of that is silver, third quarter of that is copper, and last quarter of that is iron. Which means that by the time you pass through all the reincarnations, whenever you arrived on the earth, but everyone on earth is in their last period, their iron stage, when we come to the confluence age, which is the last period before the golden age. So you look around and you see the world around you. You see there's lots and lots of people, depending on who calculates the world population. But usually if you look in Google, you will find we're somewhere around 8 billion, and other people have smaller calculations, other people have larger calculations, but it's quite a few billion. And the people are basically divided up into the different traditions, the main religions of the world. Because even if a person is not practicing their religion, everyone is born into some or another culture. So if you're born in India, you're surrounded by Hinduism and Islam and a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Christianity, a little bit of Judaism, but not much. And then if you're in other parts of Asia, which are predominantly Buddhistic or Shinto or some of the other religions that are similar to Buddhism, you'll find that is the culture that people grow up in. And then in what we call the Western world, European, American, Australian, South America, North America, Russia, you have the Christians. And if you go to the eastern part of Russia, that tends to be more Muslim. And then you go to the Arabic countries, many parts of Africa is Muslim. And so these are cultures as well as religious practices and belief systems. So we can call them traditions or cultures. And Hinduism you will find, of course, in India. And then a lot of the what some people call the primitive religions, the ancient religions, correspond to Hinduism quite closely. And Hinduism is the word that refers to the culture of India after the Golden Age and Silver Age broke down. And in the Golden Age and Silver Age, there are these civilizations of the Dynasty of the Sun, the Dynasty of the Moon, but there are no religions at all. So that's kind of interesting. So religion happened after everything went wrong, and people started to remember that there is God, and God should do something about all these catastrophes, and would you please come and inform us what's going on, and let us figure out how to function now that the world as we knew it is totally broken beyond repair, and human consciousness is fallen. And you will find in somewhere like the Bible, this idea of Adam and Eve being expelled from paradise, and they fell and they became body conscious. So all of these are symbols that refer to this big catastrophe that happened. And maybe the Noah's flood might be a reference to that as well. But there are a lot of stories in different cultures about some big, big, big catastrophe that happened. So now, how does this apply to you? So you are somewhere in there, in that cycle. You arrived at some point on this earth, and you still are here, because once a person arrives on the earth, it's sort of one-way traffic. You can't leave. And so you are here and you reincarnate. Now, you don't know how many births you've had or how many births you still have to have. And a large number of people believe in reincarnation, especially in India. And then most of the subsequent religions, Buddhism does believe in reincarnation, but in a different way. And the culture of Islam, Christianity, Judaism, all this does not believe in reincarnation. And some people within those religions believe in reincarnation anyway, even though it's not there officially in their religion. And so there we are. We have people who do and people who don't. But if you are in this webinar, the chances are that you do believe in it, because you're studying all this material, and that's why we're having this intensive together. So that means that you have, just like the founders of the religions, you have a procedure through time. You process. You start in your golden period, then you go to your silver period, your copper period, and your iron period. And then your iron period ends, and you return to the world of souls, the world of light. And then you come back in your time and you start the process all over again. And all this is called predestined. Now, most people don't like the idea of predestination because they like to have freedom. They want free choice. And if everything is destined, then they say, well, why should I make any effort? Because if everything is predestined, then it doesn't matter what I try to do, it won't make any difference. And this is why it's called a paradox. So what we're looking at here is the paradox of predestination and freedom. And that is quite a complicated thing to think about. And in the picture of the cycle that we looked at, you wouldn't be able to discern from it very easily how this paradox is there. But for that, we have to bring our attention to thinking about this period of change that's called the confluence age. So the confluence age is the only time where you go from iron to gold. And you may remember that in the maybe 16th, 17th century, people were very interested in alchemy. And alchemy is all about how you transform base metal into gold. So iron is the basest of all base metals. How do you transform iron into gold? So magic. So of course now, magic. How does magic work? And what is the magic that we're talking about here? Magic is a word given to something that people don't understand. If they see something they don't understand, they say, oh, it's magic. And some people are afraid of magic. And then, in the 13th, 14th centuries, anyone who was doing something that people didn't understand was considered a witch, and they were consigned to the fire, burned at the stake, and life went on without them. But nevertheless, magic is something that people love. Everybody who reads Harry Potter does it because they just like stories about magic. So it's good magic, bad magic, all this kind of thing. And it all refers to things that people just don't understand, but they're very curious about and intrigued about. So now, how is it that something can go from iron to gold? Because if you go from gold to silver, silver to copper, copper to iron, it corresponds to something that is done in the business of jewelry. And so you have gold, pure gold, which is 24 karat, and that's the real pure gold. But then you have other carats. And so you have the 22 karat gold, you have the 18 karat gold, you have the 14 karat gold, and then you have 9 karat gold. And after that, it's not gold anymore. So this is really the symbolism of this decline in the quality of the soul over time. And a 9 karat gold or less than 9 karat gold is not considered gold anymore. So this corresponds to the state of the soul, who is completely depleted and contaminated. And so this is the state of the world at this time. People are spiritually depleted, contaminated with all sorts of traumas and bad experiences, and motivated by all sorts of negative emotions. And so you have the human race in trouble and in crisis, and very, very high levels of violence. If you look at statistics of violence, you find that it is skyrocketing, and so many wars are going on, so much illness, so much mental illness, financial catastrophes, general misery for a very, very large number of people. And there's a relatively small number of people who are comfortable, healthy, and having good relationships, and they're happy. Very, very small number of people can tick all those boxes. So this is sign of the times. And how do we go from this kind of situation to the next golden age? So this is what the confluence age is all about. And it's in the confluence age that you receive this title, Swadarshanchakradhari. And this title is given to you by the Supreme Being, the Supreme Soul, God, the Father of all souls, the teacher, the creator, the one who knows. So what this is all about is to look at the things that God is telling to humanity. How do you know that this is coming from God? Well, you really have to look at it very closely indeed to come to the conclusion, that this cannot be said by anyone else. And this information, some of it can be found in different ancient scriptures, but the totality of it cannot be found. This is really very, very different from what you can find. So then it depends on the individual. Do you recognize that this is coming from that source, or do you not? So if you are studying Raj Yoga in this way, using this material, chances are that you recognize that, it is coming from God. And so this is God, the teacher, teaching us all about time and teaching us Raj Yoga. So Swadarshanchakradhari, I will just remind you, means a person who is in possession of the cycle in which you can see who you are, in which you can know yourself. And you have taken possession of that. This means that you are learning how to perform circular thinking. And circular thinking is something that most people don't really know what that is. So a Swadarshanchakradhari, you start off by being presented with this picture, which you just saw earlier. And it's told to you, okay, this is the cycle of time. And you say, okay. And then we need to look in all of the details. Now, I'm going to ask my good friend Maggie to put up the picture of the kalpa tree, because this is another way of looking at this information. Same information, but in the form of a tree. And there are lots and lots of elements to it. So I'd like to just go through that. And I think you will see, just about you will see, if you go to the very, very bottom of it, you will see that there's another tree underneath the roots of this main tree that you're looking at here. So this is called the kalpa tree. And it's showing humanity in the format of a genealogical tree. And you can see that it's got the same elements as in the cycle, the golden, the silver, the copper, and the iron age. You go up through the trunk like this, and you can see that. And you can see that the branches start at the copper age, and each branch has a golden, silver, copper, and iron part. And when you get to the copper part of the branch, it divides into two. You can see at the bottom ones, not all of them is shown, but it divides into two. And then when you get to the iron, there's further divisions. So this is all about how, with time, the world population increases and everything becomes more complicated. And if you go up through the middle, you can see that you have the in the golden age, you have the Radha and Krishna, which later become Lakshmi and Narayan. You can see in the silver one, you have Ram and Sita. And in the copper age, you have all sorts of different types of Hindu rituals with fires and gurus and things. And then as you go further up, you get more gross forms of rituals. And then at the very top, you will see there is Brahma in white there. And at the very bottom, you will see there is Brahma sitting down. At the top, he's standing. So he's sitting down in the roots of the tree. So the roots of the tree correspond to the confluence age. And it's quite interesting to see that this period called the confluence age is the time when you are doing your spiritual practice underground. Underground means it's not visible, it's inside, it's not that other people really know what's going on in your mind, what you're meditating on, how you're meditating, etc. It's all going on the inside. And you will see over here on the right-hand side of the part that shows the golden age, you see there is an oval form. And inside that oval form, you have an upside-down tree. And the oval form actually corresponds to the form of God, which is the form of light. And if you make a point of light a little bit bigger, it shows as an oval. And so all this knowledge of all the people and all the processes of the world are contained inside the soul of God. And also inside your soul, you have your own tree. You have your own cycle. And you have your own, you can say, destiny. And so you don't know what it is, but with this information, it is told to you, it is there. and you need to work in a certain way so that you can get access to it. And that is what is meant by fulfilling this title of Swadarshanchakradhari. So the cycle is a bit simpler, and the tree has a lot more complicated symbols and images and so on. And if you go to the top of the picture, you will see that there's some airplanes dropping bombs. You will see the world is on fire. You will see in the side rectangles, you will see some natural calamities, some war situations. So we're really looking at circumstances that don't look that different from what you see on the news if you turn it on. And you will find that, the current war in Ukraine is between essentially that you've got Russia on one side and you've got America and NATO on the other side. And things appear to me to be escalating. So it's a little bit sort of scary there. But anyway, we're hoping that things will calm down. But basically what it's saying is that the end of one cycle and the beginning of the next cycle, that means you can see the new tree or the old tree went into this tree, and then after this tree comes another tree, and then one tree after another, after another, after another, rather like the cycle keeps going round and round and round. And your other analogy to that is the seasons. You have spring, which corresponds to the golden age, then summer, then fall, and then winter. And after winter, you get spring again. And that's about the time of year that we are in right now. We're all looking for spring, and we want the winter to be finished because we like the springtime. And so, okay, we can leave this picture for now. And I think that we need to take a look at how do I, as an individual, inside my head, how do I work with these images? And I had a very interesting dream this morning that I will share with you because it seems all about this. Obviously, I was thinking about this before talking to you. And in my dream, I saw an image of the cycle, not as a two-dimensional flat thing, but as three-dimensional, like a sphere. And I thought, this is a very interesting way to look at it. And there I saw that inside the sphere, which was like a glass sphere, but very, very subtle, like a sphere made of clouds or something. And inside the sphere is all the details of your life, just like lots and lots of little characters and pictures and things like that, all very subtle, but they're all there. So I thought, this is quite a good way to think about it, that usually this expression, Swadarshanchakradhari, is translated as spinner of the cycle of self-realization. This is how we often hear about it. But the actual meaning of the expression is that you are a possessor of the cycle in which you can see yourself. But it is called a yantra, and a yantra means an instrument. And that means you have to work it, and you work it by spinning it. So you are the possessor of this cycle, which represents all of time, and you are in time. When you're born and you have a body, you are in the dimensions of space and time. And everything you do takes a certain amount of time, and you do it somewhere. So you are in space and time doing things, and that is called karma. So the cycle of the self is all about all the different types of karma you do over the course of time, and the quality of your karma goes from gold to silver to copper to iron. That means there is a decline in the quality of your karma, which corresponds to a decline in the quality of the soul, because the energy of the soul over time gradually gets used up. And you say, I'm tired now and I want to go home, which is a well-known song. But it's really also about what the feeling is in the soul. By the time you get to the Iron Age, you say, this is all too much. This is all too horrible. I can't manage it. Why is it so hard? I want out. I want to go home. And some people in their prayers, they call out to God saying, take me back. I don't like this anymore. I want to go back. And this is really what part of the role of God is, to, first of all, teach us everything there is to know about why the world is the way it is and what happens over the course of time, what is happening next, and how do we manage it, and where are we going next. And he's saying, okay, we're going back to the world of light to get completely rested, restored, refreshed, revitalized, rejuvenated. And then we come back, and it's a very beautiful world in which we enjoy greatly. But time passes, and you can't stop time. And even when you come into the world in your golden period, it doesn't remain golden. Spring passes, it becomes summer. Summer passes, it becomes autumn. Autumn passes, it becomes winter. Winter passes, and it becomes miraculously spring. So this period of the confluence age, where we know all this material, is the time when we are actually participating in causing the winter of the world to become the springtime. And so we can actually work with God to make this all happen. And that's what the yoga is all about. And the yoga is very much connected with spinning the cycle of the knowledge. So I'm thinking we've just had about an hour, and I've covered quite a lot of the material I wanted to cover. But this to me seems like a good time for a little pause.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Denise, it's so interesting. And I know you're sort of revising a lot of stuff, but it's very good to revisit and also see your understanding and expression of all these pictures. So everyone is so grateful. I know I've already had a few comments. So thank you for that. Okay, so
So I'm going to give you another image in a little while, which is really the symbol which shows us how to use all these instruments while in the circumstances of predestination and free will. Everybody wants to know about circular thinking. So we're used to thinking in a linear way because that's how we're educated, that's how everybody is taught to see the world. You know, the world started with a Big Bang some 28 billion years ago, and before that we don't know what there was. Maybe something, maybe nothing, but anyway. Then the idea is after another 28 billion years, there'll be another Big Bang and that'll be that. But by the time we get there, we will have figured out the solution. That's how linear thinking works. But the circular thinking is a little bit like you're looking at cause and effect. And you will say that in terms of cause and effect, the last effect is the first cause. So there isn't any time when things totally stop. But yet there is this idea, stop the world, I want to get off. So there is, there are moments where things start again. But yet there's always something before the beginning and something after the end. So after the end comes a new beginning. This is in the world of nature, you can see that so easily. There's never anything like absolute stop, and there's never anything like absolute start. So think of yourself, and you are an eternal, immortal soul. And one of the things that people desire is immortality. And why do they desire it? Is because actually they are immortal, but they can't grasp that immortality to be able to process it. So with circular thinking, you do grasp it and you do process it. So you always have to begin with yourself. So the self is the Swadarshanchakradhari, the one who is in possession of the cycle, the knowledge of the cycle of the self, so that you can see who you are, all the way from your highest, most perfect state to your lowest, most imperfect state. And then from the lowest, you jump up again to the highest. So there is continuity. But what it also means is that you evolve very quickly. The Darwinian model that we learn in school shows that after some kind of a beginning, which he doesn't specify, you emerge from the primordial ooze and gradually turn into a human being, which is the highest form of life. And then what? We don't know. You know, so that's a linear thinking model. But when you look at this, you see where you are now. So where you are now is you are right on that point of the end and the beginning. All of your negativity, contamination, whatever there is finishing off. And you're getting new energy coming in, which is a purification and a purging process. So that is called Raj Yoga. So the yoga is based on the knowledge, and it's in the context of the knowledge. So there you are at the end of time and at the beginning of time. And what you need is you need power. You need to absorb power directly from the being of God. And when you do that, it causes all your contamination to get ejected from the soul. And it also causes new energy to be drawn into the soul. So it's a very, very rapid resetting of the soul. And this happens in the context of you doing two things. One is connecting with the source through concentration. You focus yourself on yourself as a soul. Step 1. Step 2, you focus your attention on God, the Supreme Soul, and you spin. It's rather like a drill. You might have heard some noise in the background. There's some drilling going on. So a drill, when you want to make a really nice hole in the wall, you have a bit and it's spinning at very high speed and it makes a nice round hole in the wall. And if you are not spinning high speed, you can't actually pierce this barrier that is the wall. And so what we have to do in spinning the cycle is to pierce through the barrier between one cycle and the next cycle. And in between one cycle and the next cycle, you have a microsecond in the world of light, which is timeless and spaceless. That's why it's a microsecond, because there's no time. So you are starting slowly, very slowly. You start with the idea that you are a point, and a point of light. And I arrived here from the world of light. And I arrived in absolutely perfect condition, absolutely perfect. And I began to interact with other perfect people. I was light, I was beautiful, I was talented, I was perfectly balanced, everything absolutely perfect. And slowly over time, I declined. And then I passed through this barrier between the heavenly world and the world we know. I lost my soul consciousness, I lost my brilliance, I lost my balance, I lost my state of being in the world of paradise, and I came to hardcore reality with all of its difficulties and confusions. And it took a long time going through that, and things slowly got more and more difficult. I got less power, and I ended up just practically desperate. Everything gone wrong. And then I make contact with the Supreme Being. I understand everything. I take power. All my negativity is ejected out of my being through yoga. And I come back to my original state. I start again. Now that's going around slowly. And you're also in the context of cause and effect. What caused you to come to God is you got empty. When the soul is empty, there's a natural inclination to look for the gas station. You're running on empty. You need power. You need petrol. You need energy. So you think about the gas station. You fill up. And when you're full, you take a moment's rest in the world of light, and then off you go again, around the cycle. And now you think about your process through the cycle. And as you think about it, you go through quicker and quicker and quicker. Now, if you look at the cycle as a spinning top, when you spin a top which may be painted with the colors of the rainbow, you will find that when you spin it, everything goes white. And when you're spinning something, it's moving. And when the top is moving, it can stand straight on a pinpoint because it's held up by spinning. And that's why it's called a gyroscope. It spins in the same plane. When you're not spinning, you're wobbling or you're falling down. So this is an instrument that takes us from wobbling and falling down to perfectly clear, stable, easy balance. And there you enter into your consciousness of the cycle that I'm the actor and I play this part and that part and the other part all the way around the cycle, from the purest to the most impure. I act out my bright side, I act out my dark side, but the totality of me is not my empty state. The totality of me is my full state. So you are returning to your full state. Now let's look at the paradox for a moment. Everything is predestined, but you don't know what is predestined until it's past. So at any given moment, you're in the present, and say the short period of time is 1 second. So after every second, you can't do anything about what happened in the previous second because it's gone into the past and it's fixed. You don't know what is coming in the future, but as soon as it comes, you're living it, and it's in that second that you actually have choice. You can do whatever you want. But most people are not so alert and concentrated to be able to choose freely, second by second. How do you feel? What do you think? How do you interpret what's going on? There's a lot happening. Every second it changes. And for you to be that much alert and conscious, to be able to choose how you feel and what you do second by second is quite a skill. But you gradually acquire it by getting faster and faster in your ability to set yourself straight second by second and let go of the past second by second so that you can get on with the next second. But usually what happens is you get tripped up, caught up in the past, worried about the future, and you forget everything that you know because of the tumult of the present moment. But gradually, by getting good at this and by really thinking about it, studying it, practicing it in all sorts of ways, you actually increase your speed of stabilizing yourself instantly after some destabilizing event has happened. And so your relationship with events is they are tests. And they are there to help you to get faster and faster in managing how you feel about what's going on so that you can really be in your power and really be the Swadarshanchakradhari, because there's another meaning of this word. And the person who is spinning the cycle is the victorious one, because you have time in your hands. You are the master of the drama, the master of events, but it takes a long period of practice to develop that skill. And it's something that happens slowly, slowly, slowly over time. And this is why the practice of Raj Yoga and the acquisition of these titles, I mean, you're given the title, yeah, but you have to acquire it and be it. And that takes a lot of patience, everyday practice, everyday interpreting what's going on so that it brings you to the reality of who you are in the context of circumstances which are nothing to do with you. Then you also add to that the dimension of karma philosophy. So it can be quite complicated, but I'm not going to go into karma now. But I think I will stop here because I'm sure there'll be tons of questions and so on. And I will turn it over again to Madhavi, and we can take a look at some of the things that are in your mind. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise. It's been amazing. And I think, you've really explained the predestination and the importance of effort, etc., very clearly. But Nali is saying, why is it exactly 5,000 years in the cycle? I mean, how is it? What sort of gave it that number? Any thoughts?
Why are you in the cycle? Why is the sun in the sky? These are phenomena. And once you put the label of natural phenomenon onto something, then you say it is like that. It doesn't really matter how many years it is. But one explanation that has been given by God is that, if you are thinking of this in terms of billions of years, it is not possible for you to hold that much information in your head at one time. But 5,000 is such that you can. And if you want to become skilled in the use of this yantra, to think of it as a 5,000-year spinning clock of time, then you will be able to use the yantra. You can look at a normal clock and say, okay, this clock is divided into 12. And why is it divided into 12? Why isn't it divided into 24? Some people use a 12-hour, some people use a 24-hour. In France, where I am, everything is 24 hours, but the clocks are all, circles of 12. And it helps us to relate to day and night. And this cycle is just a very large version of day and night. So you have 2,500 years of day and 2,500 years of night. And you are going through day and night on a much bigger scale. But time itself is eternal. And it's quite hard for people to think about their immortality and their eternity unless they think about it in a circular fashion, because you cannot think about it any other way. The symbol for eternity is a figure 8 on its side, which is similar to the cycle, which is just the day and night, half. But if you look at it as in terms of figure 8, then you have one bit of it is the day, one bit of it is the night. It's just a twisted circle in figure 8.
I realized that yoga or meditation is very important for me to develop as a soul and deepen my relationship with God, but can't seem to go below the surface. The thoughts of self-respect break very easily and waste thoughts take over. What can I do to overcome this?
It really depends on how you have been introduced to the practice of yoga. And some people make you get the idea that you can just magically go into yoga and have an amazing experience, and then only you are having yoga. But this is actually not really how it works. Yoga means connection. And connection is determined by concentration. And so what you need to do is to use thoughts and get yourself to think about those thoughts in a very focused way. Because when you think about something which is told by God, it enables you to get onto the same level as God. But before you can have yoga, the first thing you must do is to establish the difference between the state of soul consciousness and the state of body consciousness. And a lot of time and energy needs to be given to practicing and figuring out what is the meaning of being soul conscious, and really work with that and practice. I am the soul looking through these eyes. I am the soul listening through these ears. I, the soul, am making my body move. I am making my feet go one in front of the other when I walk. I take my hand and I raise my hand or lower my hand so that you can really begin to feel that whatever is going on between you and your body is the soul that's doing it. And you need to really get that. And then you need to say, okay, my fundamental state is I am a pure, peaceful, powerful, loving, blissful being of light. And consider that, roll it around in your mind until you get it. And this happens when you think like this. You cannot fly in a rocket before you know how to walk. You know? And I think in many cases people don't really teach yoga very effectively, and this is why it becomes so frustrating for the people who are learning it. So this is how Baba was teaching the BKs at the beginning. So it must be a good way, and I found it a very good way. So go slowly and think about the knowledge. All of that is how you get into this focused, connected state. And it will last you maybe 2 seconds, not more. But most of your effort is getting there and really using the knowledge. Churning the Murali is the very, very best way to have yoga. Listening to meditation commentaries, I wouldn't bother, because that won't really get you anywhere. We do that because people like them, but they're not as useful as you might think.
No, thank you for that. And I love the bit you mentioned about the 2-second sort of realization or experience. I think loads of people have very inflated ideas and incorrect ideas about, how to do this. So thank you for that, Denise. In the Trimurti picture, the order is establishment, then sustenance, and then destruction. But in Murali of the 24th of December 2022, Baba said that you must always say establishment, then destruction, then sustenance. Please explain why Baba said that.
Okay, this is a very important one. And may I request my friend Maggie to put up the picture of the Trimurti, and we'll just go through it. Okay, here you are. And this is it. Now, you see here on the left-hand side, you have Brahma. And on the right-hand side, as I'm looking at it, you have Shankar. And then in the middle, you have Vishnu. And you will see Vishnu has his picture of his instrument, the cycle, is on his index finger of the top right hand. Now, Vishnu is the symbol of the golden age, and he is the symbol of the combined form of Lakshmi and Narayan. He is the symbol of androgyny. So the people of the golden age are exactly equally balanced male and female. So between male and female human beings, there is only very slight difference. And there is nothing like the patriarchy or misogyny or any of that doesn't exist, because that's a recent invention. Brahma is pictured in his white clothes, and he's sitting in a half lotus position. Shankar is sitting in a full lotus position. He's got his long hair and he's got it on a bun on top. The face of Brahma, the face of Shankar, and the face of Vishnu is the same face. So these are 3 stages of a person. So the Brahma phase, this is the phase where you are living a simple life, which is represented by the white clothes. You are studying, which is represented by the half lotus pose. And you are learning how to meditate, and you're learning the knowledge. So that is called establishment. Then after establishment, you have to have destruction. So first is establishment, then is destruction. What is destruction? Destruction means that you leave your body. So Shankar is the symbol of the discarnate soul. You have become so soul conscious that you are able to separate from your body at the final moment at will. And at the same time as you do that, there's all kinds of other transformational events happening in the world. So first you have the period of the confluence age, where you're studying this. And then in the middle of the confluence age, you get the World War. And you get many wars leading up to that, most of which are religious wars. And then finally you get nuclear war, and you get all sorts of natural calamities, tsunamis a mile high, and earthquakes and movement of tectonic plate, because the whole earth has to be reset. And this is not something you can survive very easily, but there are a few survivors. And then you have a period, the second part of the confluence age, where the new civilization is put together. And there are many details about that, which I won't tell right now because it takes too much time. But Vishnu is what is, when the new world is set up, then Brahma Baba, who has meanwhile grown up, and the time comes for the beginning of the golden age where he is crowned. And you can see on Vishnu there is the double crown. So the emperor of the world is the master of temporal power, represented by the crown of jewels, and spiritual power, represented by this crown of light that is around him. It's actually a halo of light. But the four symbols are very important because they represent the final achievement of Brahma, which is to have this absolute stability shown by the Swadarshanchakradhari. And then the conch is the symbol of perfect words. The lotus is the symbol of perfect karma. And the mace is the symbol of the destruction of negativity. And all these necklaces that he has represent relationship with the other people who are doing this practice, and who all become the community of the golden age, which is represented by all these different pearls. And then the dress represents the great prosperity that you have in the golden age. At the present time, you live a simple life. So first you do the practice, then you leave the body, and then you reincarnate as something equivalent of Vishnu. So this is why it's always like that. First establishment, then destruction, then sustenance. But the people who don't know anything, they look at this picture and they say, and this is also in Bhakti, they say creation, then sustenance, then destruction. This is a sign of linear thought. But circular thought is a creation, then destruction, then sustenance. People have asked about Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankar, who are to be seen in vision in the subtle regions. And Baba had said they are subtle souls. And what he had also said is that, that they are one person. They are three images of God's acts, which are done through Brahma Baba. So Brahma as Brahma is Brahma, Brahma as Shankar is Brahma meditating, and Brahma as Vishnu is Brahma's next birth. And included in Vishnu is Mama as well, Lakshmi. And this is symbolic of the threefold effort of all of us. We have to make the effort of yoga, which is Shankar, the effort of study, which is Brahma, and the effort of, embodying all the study, which is Vishnu, and which is in the form of sanskaras in the Golden Age, but there is no knowledge in the Golden Age.
Let's join Sister Denise in her final meditation commentary that she will do this morning. So thank you so much. It's over to you, Denise.
Om Shanti. So let us go around the cycle. And of course, the famous way of doing this is the 5 forms. So I'll remind you of those 5 forms. And the first original stage, I am the point of light in the world of light, absolutely pure, completely silent, just being, doing nothing. I am, I exist. And then I come to the earth. I adopt the form of a divine human being in a divine, beautiful world. Absolute beauty of the body that I'm in. Perfect connectedness with everything in the perfect earth. The natural world responds to my every thought. I communicate with others through telepathy. I live in a perfectly beautiful, high-tech world. Everything is at my command by just a thought. I am a master. And then that world finishes, and I come into the world of devotees. I am the spirit that they worship. I enter into their statues and give them the experience of the divine being. And they receive comfort. And this continues for a long time, until finally we reach the confluence age, and I become the Brahman who is connected with the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul, through Brahma. I study, I practice, I absorb the knowledge, and I become avyakt. Everything is done. I've understood everything. I have become karmatit. I am in my angelic form. And I am ready to again become the point of light in the world of light. And then I descend as a divine being, and the cycle continues round and round. And I move from one perfect state to another, while the cycle goes from bright to dark, dark to bright, endlessly. I exist permanently. Om Shanti.